All in, all in, all in. We're all in.
I don't have a sense of urgency about getting it done.
You guys get paid pretty well to write headlines and to do your job, and respectively so, but I can't allow that to affect how I get paid in my job. You don't get paid well? A couple of y'all need to start holding out too then.
It's been very tough to be a Cowboy fan, but have you ever stopped to consider how difficult it might be to be a YouTuber that covers the NFL that happens to be a Cowboy fan? I'm running out of titles here. I mean, I've used the Dallas Cowboys are in big trouble, the Dallas Cowboys continue to embarrass themselves, the Dallas Cowboys implosion has begun. At a specific point, how many times can I say that the Dallas Cowboys are dumb? There's only so many ways I could really say this one phrase. And the crazy thing is every single time they just keep upping the ante. They do something dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber to the point where fans aren't even attending training camp anymore. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get to the content, we are on the grind to 1 million subscribers. We're trying to beat my twin brother Flight Mike to 1 million subscribers, and we're giving away copies of Madden 25 to subscribers that turn on their notifications on this channel. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I don't remember the last time I was not disappointed as a Dallas Cowboy fan, but if I could remember, I would like to put my money on the fact that it probably was during the regular season. Most likely towards the beginning of the regular season, because that's how the Dallas Cowboys cycle starts. But during this past offseason, we saw a masterclass in Dallas Cowboys ineptitude. I mean, as a matter of fact, this ineptitude began from the moment the Dallas Cowboys played their wild card game, and they just never stopped from that moment on, except for like 2 or 3 times, and I'll get to that in just a sec. The Cowboys were humiliated by the Green Bay Packers. I mean, the Packers were the first 7th seed in NFL history to advance in the playoffs. Now let's take an objective look at the Dallas Cowboys offseason, and let's try not to be too harsh. After all, this is my favorite team, so how hard am I really gonna go on the Cowboys? In reality, the Cowboys had a very challenging offseason. Not only do they have big expiring contracts coming up in the form of Dak Prescott, Cee Dee Lamb, and next year Micah Parsons, but they had several holes that needed addressing. Tony Pollard left in free agency. Tyron Smith, their blindside anchor for the past 14 years, left for the New York Jets. Their starting center left for the Washington Commanders. Their defensive coordinator left for the Washington Commanders. Dorrance Armstrong also followed Dan Quinn to the Washington Commanders. Stephon Gilmore became a free agent. So it was going to be very challenging to try to rebuild a team that got embarrassed on national TV in the playoffs, but was good enough to get the 2nd seed in the NFC prior to that. And to be honest, when you compare the Cowboys to the rest of the NFC East, they probably have the least momentum out of any team, except maybe the New York Giants. But even in the case of the New York Giants, they've made some exciting moves. I mean, Malik Neighbors is dominating in training camp, so you could definitely make a very strong argument that the Cowboys had the least exciting offseason out of any team in the NFC East. Such is life when you have severe salary cap restrictions as a result as your quarterback's backloaded contract. So with that, even the Cowboys made lemonade, signing Eric Kendricks to a 1-year prove-it deal, but they found a stud at the left tackle position, drafting Tyler Guyton in the 1st round of the NFL draft. And to be honest, from that point on, the Dallas Cowboys mismanaged everything. And look, I'm not trying to say that their 2nd to 6th round pick was bad, because for all you know, they could be solid players, but as of right now, on paper, the rest of the Cowboys offseason was a disaster. It all started when Jerry Jones said this.
How do we feel about where we've been in this free agency? We feel great about what we've been in free agency. All in. All in. All in. We're all in with these young guys coming up. And we're all in with this draft, and we're all in with knowing that you have to go.
And boy, Jerry Jones really did the opposite of going all in. I mean, I have never seen such an inept allocation of the salary cap in my entire life. Jerry likes to do this thing where he waits till the last possible second in order to extend contracts of his star players, and I really don't know why he does this. I mean, there's not a feasible explanation as to why you should wait till the very last minute, like you're some kid in school trying to avoid the school project and procrastinate last minute. I mean, what the hell is Jerry Jones doing other than trying to get these deals done as soon as possible? I mean, at the time that we're making this video, Brandon Ayuk still has not been traded and still hasn't agreed to a contract extension. And his storyline is even more bizarre than Cee Dee Lamb's. But we'll get to Cee Dee Lamb in a second. My personal question was, why isn't Jerry Jones paying any of his players? He had an opportunity to do so all off season long. Not only in the case of Cee Dee Lamb, but in the case of Dak Prescott as well. Look, I know we always roast Dak Prescott for choking in the playoffs. Hell, I know I do it and I'm a Cowboy fan. But you have to admit, when you act like the playoffs don't exist, which as a Cowboy fan I do fairly often, Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. His completion percentage typically hovers around 68%. Throughout his career, he's completed 67% of his passes. He has nearly a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio for the entirety of his career. And when he's fully healthy, he typically goes for over 4,000 passing yards. And that's the truth. You can look throughout the rest of the NFL, but at the end of the day, Dak Prescott is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And he was the runner-up to the NFL MVP last year. He was a second-team All-Pro. He threw for 36 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, over 4,500 passing yards, and 69.5% of his passes were completed. Now, based off of that alone, Dak deserves a contract extension. But let's say you're one of those stubborn Cowboy fans that think,
oh my God, Dak is not even a top 20 QB. I'd rather have Trey Lance start over Dak.
But when you take a look at Dak Prescott's last contract, you'd realize that the Cowboys don't have a choice but to extend Dak Prescott, primarily because his cap hit is so egregious that even if Dak Prescott leaves, the Cowboys are going to incur at least $40.46 million against the 2025 salary cap. So with that being said, considering how Dak Prescott is at minimum a top 10 QB or a top 5 QB, depending on who you ask, plus the fact that there would be significant cap charges against the Cowboys if they don't sign him to an extension, you would think that the Cowboys would be as motivated as possible to get a contract extension done with Dak Prescott after one of his best regular seasons to date. But Jerry Jones not only didn't want to pay Dak Prescott a contract extension, he also refused to pay Cee Dee Lamb a contract extension. Now, Dak has gone on the record multiple times saying that he doesn't fear playing for another team, but here's where it gets really interesting. When Jerry Jones was asked why he does this bullshit, his reaction was delusional.
Is that I feel like when you look at cap, you need to have a feel for where the revenue is going to be down the road. I feel like I know better than anybody living. I've got a feel for what the revenue is going to be 4, 5, 6 years from now than anybody living. I've spent all this time doing that, and I understand it. And if you don't understand what the revenue is going to be, then you can't look ahead and see what the cap is going to be. I've got a better feel, I think, than anybody, because I have a sense of what revenues might be for the whole league 4, 5, 6 years from now. And so that if you see me optimistic, then you must know that I think it's pretty good. If you see me a little cautious, you must know that I'm being cautious. I mean, I'm quick to be repeated. But I didn't add that the other day, but I'm the best at looking around corners. Now, I don't know what that is. But as far as body language and instincts, I'm better than anybody.
So yeah, Jerry Jones essentially said that the reason why he doesn't want to extend his players is because he realizes that this $4.7 billion Sunday ticket lawsuit against the NFL, which we made our own video on a while ago, is going to affect the salary cap of the entire NFL, and the Cowboys are going to be smart for not extending their players before the salary cap decreases basis for the very first time in NFL history. And here's the thing, I think Jerry believes that he could throw out any word salad that he possibly would like to throw out and fans will buy it, but I don't think Jerry understands that it's 2024 and it's no longer the early 2000s or the 1990s, and fans are a little bit more in tune with what's going on behind the scenes than they were in the 90s and early 2000s. A lot of fans understand how the salary cap works. It's the reason why we're so upset, because if you understand how the salary cap works, then you do something like what the Green Bay Packers did with Jordan Love, or what the Jacksonville Jaguars did with Trevor Lawrence, or what the Philadelphia Eagles did with AJ Brown, or what they did with Devontae Smith, and that's pay your guys as soon as possible, and hopefully that contract ages well. And in the case of the Jaguars, yeah, it's a significant risk with Trevor Lawrence, but when you consider the alternative, and that's probably paying him $60 million a year the year after this, it's a good way to save a couple $1,000,000 and be able to allocate that elsewhere in the future. But here's where it gets even funnier. Jerry was completely wrong about this. Dude, the judge overturned the $4.7 billion judgment against the NFL in the Sunday Ticket trial. Now, whether or not this was a fair trial is not something I want to get into. We made our own video on it a while ago. I'll leave a link to that in the end screen. But the important part here is Jerry was wrong. The salary cap's gonna be just fine. And now all eyes are on the Cowboys to not only extend Dak, but to extend CD. Now, originally, people were expecting Dak to make this much.
The Dak one is harder. Not being able to franchise him, not being able to trade him. I mean, not that they would, but I'm saying like basically just gives Dak all of the leverage. It's honestly just a matter of like how much does he want? If he's a free agent next year, he'll be the biggest free agent we've ever seen. It's like people ask me how much money would Dak make in free agency? How high can you count?
60 million per?
In free agency next year?
Yeah.
Higher, more. Always over.
Hell, even Troy Aikman expects Dak to make $60 million a year.
Dak Prescott. I do believe he's going to be the first quarterback to $60 million. And
From Jerry? From Jerry or somewhere else?
That's the question. And the longer this goes, the more I think he will be playing somewhere else. If it continues to drag on and he plays great, and then the Cowboys come in late to say, hey, now we want to pay you, I don't know where his head will be at that point.
The ever-reliable Dove Kleiman believes that Dak Prescott can potentially sign a $70 million per year contract, which I admit I think that's a little crazy, but this is just Dak Prescott. We didn't even get to the purpose of this video, which my apologies if I'm a little rambly here, guys. Whenever it comes to this team and how much they infuriate me, I know no bounds. So now that the Sunday Ticket lawsuit was overturned, one would think that Jerry Jones would get to work trying to extend Cee Dee Lamb as quickly as humanly possible. After all, Cee Dee Lamb has been an absolute superstar for the Cowboys over the past 3 seasons. From his second season and on, Cee Dee Lamb has always gone over 1,000 yards receiving. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, and this past year, he led the NFL in receptions with 135. He was a workhorse for the Cowboys. He had 1,749 receiving yards as well, and he finished in top 3 in Offensive Player of the Year voting. And the Cowboys had all off-season long to extend him. I mean, if you get this done in March or April, then you're paying CD about $30 or $31 million. But the thing is, the Cowboys didn't try to hit the ground running with extending Cee Dee Lamb. And alas, they waited and waited. They waited for Amon-Ra St. Brown to get his $30.02 million contract. Then they waited for AJ Brown to beat that contract. Then they waited for Justin Jefferson to come out and set the market at $35 million a year. Now, the Cowboys went from having to pay Cee Dee Lamb something like $31 million or $32 million a year to needing to pay Cee Dee Lamb anywhere from $34 to $36 million a year annually. So this is a no-brainer. You have to extend Cee Dee Lamb. So the Cowboys are going to do it, right?
I don't have a sense of urgency about getting it done.
It's a long season.
Oh, come the on, Jerry. Come on. What are you doing? Why don't you have urgency to extend Cee Dee Lamb? The price is just getting higher, man. You never win. You always end up overpaying your players by doing this. I don't know why he's doing this. I really don't. I mean, can someone give this man a reality check? Dallas Cowboy fans aren't showing up to training camp. Hell, I'm primarily a Kansas City Chiefs fan this year, brother. There's a reason why there's not a Dak Prescott signed jersey behind me, man. And that's because I have no hope behind this regime so long as the Jones family is leading it. It gets even worse, man. Not only did Jerry Jones say the most bizarre thing ever just to potentially get a viral moment on social media, but Cee Dee Lamb caught wind of it almost immediately, and I tweeted it out, and it went viral for the wrong reasons on my X account, where I mentioned how Cee Dee Lamb has removed America's team from his X bio. I can't blame him either. Jerry Jones is nuts, and he just replaced it with 8s. And to be honest, I can't really blame him at this point. But it gets even worse. Cee Dee Lamb would quote tweet this and say LOL, and the worst part of this is Micah Parsons would repost this as well. So at this point, man, I don't really know. I really don't know as a Dallas Cowboy fan. I don't know what analysis to give in regards to this situation. I really don't know what to do at this point. As a Cowboy fan, honestly, I would like us to trade all of these players and just get first round picks, because I have zero faith in us winning anything so long as the Jones family is making these decisions. The way you win Super Bowls is allocating the salary cap efficiently to your best players. It's what the Philadelphia Eagles did with AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. It's what they're consistently doing each and every offseason. It's what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing with making sure Patrick Mahomes is not even a top 10 highest paid QB in the NFL. This is how you win Super Bowls, by making sure you could allocate your salary to as many winning pieces as humanly possible. You can manipulate this by signing your players to extensions as quickly as possible. I mean, Jalen Hurts is already the 8th highest paid QB in the NFL. Lamar Jackson's the 7th highest paid QB in the NFL, and he was paid last year. I'm typically so excited for football season, man. Really excited to watch my favorite team play each and every single season. But this year, I really just don't have any hope. Their offseason sucked. They continue to make horrible mistakes, and I just don't see a way out of this at the end of the day. Even if we move on from Dak Prescott and move on to Trey Lance, that cap hit is going to crucify us. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, man. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.